5 minutes ago, a seismic scandal erupted across Europe, and all the chaos stemmed from Russia. Ramzan Kadyrov, the formidable leader, directly confronted the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, face-to-face in a tense showdown that stunned the world. His words cut like lightning. The Poles raised their nation, shaping the entire European Union. While others stayed silent, America did not interfere. China, India, even Brazil, everyone watched. But Stalin, what truly transpired behind those locked doors during those fiery moments? Why did Kadyrov emerge as the hero, and Tusk remain silent? Stay with us till the end, you'll be left breathless. Imagine the scene, a grand hall filled with tension, every sound echoing like a gunshot. This wasn't a typical gathering, it was a battlefield of words, power, and silent threats. Kadyrov entered with purpose, not because he was late, but because his presence was essential. Without it, there was no beginning. His steps were deliberate, each one a statement, each pause a final punctuation, sealing the moment. He moved with calculated calm, just enough weight in every step, a silent joke etched into his posture. His face, carved from stone, bore sharp lines, as if he had been sculpted from a deadly mountain rock. His piercing eyes, like laser beams, demanded attention, refusing to shift their gaze even for a second. This was Ramzan Kadyrov, an unstoppable force, an unignorable reality that demanded recognition. Without protocol, without press, just pure, raw presence. The window behind him displayed illusions. Not flags, the table hosted more than officials, it was a battlefield of true power. The Prime Minister, military strategists, leaders of external parties, those who decide beyond briefings, on the streets and shadows. The Round Table was a symbol, who truly ruled here. 12 nations, 3 continents, no doors, just a cold, vast hall. Silence filled the space, an oppressive quiet, broken only by distant echoes, as if even the walls were holding their breath. Among these figures, even allies seemed alien, their masks slipping as the tension grew. When Kadyrov finally sat, it was with an air of quiet authority, as if he was declaring, "This is my domain." He gave a cautious nod, lowering into his chair, signaling readiness. But inside, a storm was brewing. No words yet, just the stare of a predator, waiting. Soon, Tusk hesitated, awkward in the face of this silent storm. His confidence flickered, like a candle struggling against gusts. His words were faint, uncertain, his voice a whisper in the vast silence. The room's atmosphere thickened, as if the very air was charged with unspoken threats. Then, Kadyrov moved, straightforward, unrelenting. His gaze drilled into Tusk, each look a challenge. Do you understand where you stand? Who you're dealing with? His voice, calm but powerful, broke the silence. We see your aggression, your energy, your hybrid tactics. But know this, we're not afraid. He looked across the table, at the Lithuanian leader, the American delegate, the Chinese envoy, the Indian representative, even Belarus. Each person felt the weight of his words. Suspicion, support, fear, all intertwined in that tense silence. Kadyrov's voice rose, resonating like a battle drum. You think power can be dictated? That you can sit in your silos and control us through satellites and covert actions? Think again. His words sliced through the room like a blade. He paused, eyes narrowing. The silence grew heavier, the kind that stifles air and drowns noise. Then, slowly, deliberately, he set his hand on the table. That subtle gesture was a declaration. This is the moment of truth. No more words needed. The battle had begun. His message was clear. Russia does not bow. We are not fearing your threats. We stand tall, unshaken. When he finally looked away, he left a chilling promise hanging in the air, altering everything in that room. As the summit closed, the atmosphere turned cold, almost pre-war. Tusk, visibly strained, knew he had been challenged. No response, just silent acknowledgement of Kadyrov's unyielding stance. The silence deafened, the kind of silence that screams accusations and unspoken threats. Kadyrov rose from his seat, the unseen victory, his face unreadable, yet resolute. Every movement said, this is only the beginning. The air thickened, tension mounting. The room already felt transformed, a new chapter in the unending conflict of power and influence. He stepped towards the door, leaving behind a trail of unspoken dominance. This wasn't just a meeting, it was war dressed in diplomacy. Power had spoken, and the world would never be the same. In a vast, freezing hall filled with echoes of distant footsteps and muffled conversations, a chilling tension hung in the air. Here, decision-makers from 12 countries across 3 continents gathered around a round table, silent, tense, almost black from the icy shadows. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken power, even those officially allied felt the weight of unseen eyes. No one dared to breathe too loud. The doors, unassuming, didn't promise shelter, only secrecy. Suddenly, Ramzan Kadyrov entered, stepping deliberately across the cold floor. His arrival was not marked by tardiness but by necessity, his presence was the missing piece that justified the silence. He moved with precision, each step resonating like a gunshot in the silence. Approaching the seat, he paused momentarily, his face a mask of calm yet radiating unyielding authority. The whispered murmur of the room seemed to hush in his presence. He sat quietly, the weight of the room pressing down on him. A faint scent of cold metal and leather filled the space, sharpening the air. Without a word, Kadyrov silently seized the moment, his gaze fixed straight ahead, piercing every silent witness. No surprise flickered on his face, only an unspoken promise that what was to come would shake the foundation of this clandestine gathering. Then, the room's atmosphere shifted. The silence grew heavier, a tense stillness, as if everyone sensed the storm about to erupt. The moment stretched, thick as fog. The soft hum of a distant air conditioner was the only sound, barely noticeable against the pounding of hearts. Kadyrov let the silence linger. An unspoken challenge hanging in the air. Suddenly, Kadyrov broke the quiet, his voice low but steady. It sounded like a commanding wave crashing against the shore, firm and unstoppable. The words reverberated through the cold space, each syllable deliberate and sharp. Now listen. The room held its breath. An invisible line had been crossed. No one dared to interrupt. He stared directly at the assembled leaders, those who pull strings behind the scenes, shaping worlds from shadows. His gaze was unblinking, cold yet intense, like a laser beam cutting through fog. His voice sliced the silence. You speak of power. You think fear controls us. But your words, they are empty. The room's occupants felt the weight of his words, each sentence a blow, each pause a challenge. Who truly commands? Who truly dares to push back? The tension grew like a storm on the horizon, electric and volatile. Kadyrov's words echoed, sharp as blades. You hide behind masks, behind satellites, behind pretenses. But we see through it. Every lie, every threat, every false guarantee, it all crumbles under the truth. His gaze shifted, locking onto the Polish Prime Minister, Donald Tusk. The man sat stiffly, expression unreadable, as if trying to mask the unease beneath his composed exterior. Tusk's face was pale, the confidence from earlier now just an illusion. Nervousness flickered behind those eyes, flickering like a flame in the cold. His words, once smooth, now faltered, barely more than a whisper. Kadyrov saw through the facade, sensing the tension build. The air seemed to vibrate with unspoken questions. Who would blink first? Who would step back from this edge? The silence grew oppressive, almost suffocating. Every breath was a struggle, every heartbeat pounding like thunder. Then, the master of the scene shifted again. His tone became a low, deliberate echo, reminiscent of a storm warning. From our side, we see the aggression. Not just words, he said, voice steady as steel. Energy attacks, hybrid campaigns, influence. We've studied your methods. Your agents, your puppet masters, hidden behind curtains of false alliances. His eyes narrowed, scanning the room like a predator stalking prey. He paused, allowing the heavy words to settle. A cold wind seemed to sweep through the hall as he continued, we know what you do. Your elite moves in shadows. Your influence reaches far beyond what you admit. You think we're naive? Think again. The cool tension grew sharper, more pointed. Then, he made a calculated move, his gaze flicked away from Tusk to the room's other delegates, each one feeling the weight of his stare. In that moment, Tusk's facade crumbled further, his voice now barely more than a whisper of doubt. Kadyrov's words sliced through the silence like a blade. You talk of threats, influence, hybrid wars. But tell me, who is truly afraid? Who was trembling behind closed doors? The question hung in the air, unanswered, as every delegate absorbed the message. This was a warning, a declaration that the game was over. Power was no longer a matter of words or threats. It was about action. The scene left everyone questioning what would happen next. The room, silent but alive, was about to witness a shift, an unspoken promise that the balance of power was about to change forever. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through history. The outcome depended on who blinked first. But one thing was certain, nothing would remain the same after this meeting. The question remained, who would ultimately be the one to break the silence? A tense silence settled over the room as Kadyrov remained motionless, eyes fixed intently. Moments stretched painfully, the air thick with anticipation. No one dared to speak. The room, usually alive with distant hums and muted conversations, now felt frozen, as if time itself paused. Then, with deliberate calmness, Kadyrov slowly placed his hand flat on the table, his gesture both deliberate and commanding. The room held its collective breath. This simple act echoed like a starting gun, signaling the beginning of something far more serious. His eyes never left Tusk's. No surprise flickered, no flicker of emotion, only an unwavering stare that seemed to pierce right through the room's veneer. The message was clear, this was no ordinary moment. It was a battle of wills. He finally broke the silence, voice low but sharp, like a blade slicing through steel. Now listen, he commanded, each word carefully measured. What followed was a masterclass in control, a display of dominance. The tension thickened, almost tangible, as if every molecule in the chamber held its breath. Kadyrov's words cut through the thick silence like a thunderclap. He pressed on, reminding everyone of the unspoken truths, the power that lies beneath diplomatic facades. His tone was unwavering. Every syllable dripped with a warning, the time for pretending was over. He leaned in just slightly, confidence radiating from every movement. His gaze remained fixed, unyielding, as if daring anyone to challenge him. The unspoken challenge loomed large. This was no mere discussion, it was a declaration of strength. And the outcome would dictate the future. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. The room's oppressive weight thickened, and a sharp sense of impending action filled the air. And in the shadows of this standoff, one question loomed, who would blink first? In the shadows of that tense European summit, Ramzan Kadyrov had just leaned in close to Donald Tusk. His elbows anchored on the table like roots gripping soil. He lowered his voice to a near whisper. Almost personal. As if counseling a fool who needed schooling. Strong, Donald. You're mistaking this summit for a comic book show. Shocking revelation, Tusk's words were just printed props from distant desks. Were they trying to scare giants with dragon tails? Or were they paper lions roaring in vain? Imagine the sting, the room's chill biting deeper than air conditioning. The faint rustle of papers, the creak of chairs under shifting weight. Kadyrov's gaze sliced through Tusk like a blade through silk. Those notes from foreign offices? Mere scraps. And those boasts of dragons and threats? Child's play. Little Poland, step back. Adults are speaking. Tusk crumbled inward, not his frame, but his spirit. Eyes darting, sweat beating like dew on a cold morning. The whole assembly saw it. No hiding. You claim Russia's trembling. But listen, aren't you the one flinching? He rose then. Words firing fast. Not just at Tusk anymore. To all. His voice thundered like a forge hammer striking iron. Echoes reverberating off marble walls. Stinging ears, rattling bones. Easy now. No panic. Our army? That's not your fear. It's our strength surging. No longer small targets for your games. The raw truth we speak, unfiltered, unbent. That's what terrifies you. Russia refusing to kneel. The Caucasus defying your so-called Western gaze. Kadyrov flicked his eyes to the Chinese delegate. A slow nod. Subtle, but undeniable. A quiet alliance brewing in the silence. India's hands shuffling documents, nervous scratches on parchment. Belarus folding arms tight, a shield against the storm. Out of your league now, Tusk. Listen close. Your babble about elite Caucasus warriors, energy snares, hybrid intrusions. Do you even grasp the ground beneath your feet? This soil carries history. He paused, no room for replies. For 2 decades, Russia powered Eastern Europe. Gas delivered low, keeping homes warm through bitter winters. Waiting lines endless, breath fogging in the frost. Yet every year, you bowed to the hand that scorched you. Lips to flames. Grateful for the burn. But no more, Donald. That outstretched hand retracts. Final. Gone. He pivoted to the Lithuanian leader. Eyes locked. Sharp. You're quaking from the force. The pressure closing in. Brushing you aside. No invites, no acknowledgements. Just erasure. Forgotten. That's the deepest dread, for leaders clutching faded flags, hollow values. Kadyrov lifted his glass. Water swirling, cool against his palm. A deliberate sip. Sip echoing like a vow. He set it down gently. Sound of glass on wood, crisp as judgment. Now, for the first time, he permitted himself to lean further. A twist unfolding. What if your fears aren't tactics, but confessions? You drone on about Caucasian elites. I'll decode reality. That smug righteousness in your stare? We're unmoved. Unafraid. Cliffhanger, but in the next heartbeat, as the summit teeters on the edge, will the world witness Kadyrov's full reckoning, exposing how Tusk's bravado masks sheer dread? Or will an unseen twist flip the entire board? Stay tuned, this confrontation is far from over. Continuing from the previous moment, where Kadyrov thrust forward into the silence, scoffing at Tusk by declaring we're not afraid of you with a palm slamming the table. Can a single voice shatter the illusions of global power, leaving leaders frozen in their seats? The room's air thickened, sharp with the scent of polished wood and unspoken threats, every breath heavy under fluorescent glare. Kadyrov began. Not a shout. As if unleashing a storm, letting his words rise up like thunder. Do you know why you cannot defeat us in one heated exchange? Quiet. He leaned forward. His palm flattened on the table. The voice emerged gritty, carrying raw truth. And you? Brave on paper. He spread his hands wide, gesturing at the void swallowing European stances. We speak not from scripts. We utter what we know. What we remember. What we've paid for in blood. He stepped ahead. In the charged air, not a sip of water stirred among the delegates. No one dared glance away. All listened intently. You forge doctrines, we endure and thrive. You form coalitions, we stand as unwavering foes. You impose sanctions, we respond with unyielding strength. Kadyrov neared the Chinese delegate. Not too close. Just enough. Watch. You tremble at our new bonds. With giants unafraid. Partners who do not barter allies for dollars, who weigh all perils before submission, heed this, Donald. And you, Poland's chief, label it a threat, a crisis, a hybrid onslaught, but truly, you quake because your decrees now weigh not. He retreated to his spot. We do not dictate. We simply cease to heed. He eased into his chair. Yet in that motion sensed closure, a period stamped on a tale, all poured out. Finished. But listen. This space holds no superiors, no inferiors. Just us here, you there. He gestured toward Belarus, then softly toward the exit. We hail from Russia, not cast aside, but refusing diminished games. We cherish those who aided us in darkest times, forsaking no sacred pacts. He seated himself, eyes unwavering. He grasped the truth. This was Tusk's moment now. A fresh chapter dawning. Alliances shifting like shadows in dawn light. Suddenly, a flashback gripped him, the sharp crack of gunfire echoing in distant valleys, the earthy grit of mud under boots during wartime trials, the acrid smoke lingering in lungs, reminders of betrayals etched in bone. How will a humiliated leader retaliate when the tables turn in this power play? Twists loom, Kadyrov's calm fury hints at unstoppable Russian resilience, but what forbidden alliances will surface now? 5 minutes ago, a shocking scandal erupted across Europe, with roots buried deep in Russia. A scene unfolded that many thought was impossible. Ramzan Kadyrov, the fierce protector of his people, directly confronted the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. His words cut through the tense air like a dagger. Polish people raised their country, while the entire European Union stayed silent. America did not interfere, but look, China, India, even Brazil. And then, a chilling question: what happened behind those closed doors in that fleeting, fiery moment? How did Kadyrov emerge as the hero while Tusk remained silent? Stay tuned, because what's coming next will shake your understanding of power forever. Imagine stepping into a hall where every sound echoes, each footfall a final stroke of a judge's gavel. Kadyrov approached with a calm that masked an overwhelming force. His steps were deliberate, each one a sentence, a verdict. The air grew heavy, thick with anticipation, the scent of cold metal filling his nostrils. The silence hardly broke, only the faint rustle of fabric and the distant hum of tense negotiations. He entered an oval table where the pillars of power sat, a gathering from 12 countries across 3 continents. The atmosphere was oppressive, like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. The very windows shimmered with illusions, revealing nothing but the cold reality of political masks. Those who truly decide sat in this room: warriors, strategists, and rulers, not mere representatives. Every detail betrayed the weight of their decisions: clenched fists, steely gazes. The faint creak of leather chairs. Kadyrov reached his seat with a measured grace. The room tensed as he quietly took his place, an unspoken affirmation that the game had just begun. His presence alone commanded attention. The political dance paused, then started, as if the air itself waited for his next move. Tusk, stiff and uneasily smiling, broke the silence with hesitant words. His voice wavered, confidence flickering like a candle in a draught. His speech was shallow, a hollow shell that tried to mask the unease simmering beneath. The room responded, an ominous silence, broken only by the faint ticking of a distant clock. Was this the calm before a storm? Or the moment of reckoning? Suddenly, Kadyrov's gaze locked onto Tusk, piercing through the veneer of diplomacy. Words hung in the air, dangerous, deliberate. With a steady, commanding voice, Kadyrov declared, "We observe your aggression, not just in words but in actions. Your hybrid attacks threaten our sovereignty." The hall seemed to shrink as Kadyrov exposed their silent threats: energy controls, covert interference, subversion masked as aid. A low hum of tension grew to a boil. His words cut like glass, each syllable deliberate, each pause a challenge. The room held its breath. Tusk's face betrayed no emotion, only a flicker of unease as he looked away, then back. His words quickly became a mere whisper in the vast silence, an attempt at defiance that failed to hide his trembling hands. But Kadyrov knew. His gaze told the story, a quiet, deadly certainty. He stepped forward, voice rising like a dam breaking. "You are afraid of our strength. Yet we remain unmoved. We don't play by your rules." The room was silent again, an eerie, almost sacred quiet. Every device stopped, every breath held. Kadyrov relaxed into his seat, but it was clear, he had delivered a message that shatters illusions of control. He sat still, a predator in the shadows, waiting patiently as the wave of tension built toward its inevitable explosion. Will this confrontation ignite a global upheaval? Or are we witnessing the calm before a storm that will change the world forever? Only time will tell. In this hall of shadows and power, the game has shifted. The stakes are higher than ever. And the next move could reshape history itself. Just a moment ago, a fierce confrontation erupted in Europe, stirred entirely from Russia's side. Ramzan Kadyrov, with unwavering boldness, publicly challenged the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. His words cut through the silence like a sharp blade. The Polish nation has brought this entire European Union to its knees. Meanwhile, America remained silent. China, India, even Brazil, they all watch. And Stalin, he moves in shadows. What secrets lie behind these tense, clandestine moments? Why did Kadyrov emerge as the hero while Tusk remained silent? Stay with me, because what happened next will surprise you beyond imagination. As Kadyrov entered the room, every step sounded like a thunderclap, precise, deliberate, unyielding. He approached without haste, yet each movement carried the weight of a final verdict. His face wasn't overly expressive, but sharp features carved like stone reflected a life forged in resilience. Eyes like laser beams locked onto everyone, piercing yet cold. This was no ordinary man, he embodied the raw reality impossible to dismiss. He entered the quiet zone, away from press and protocol, where only the truth whispered. The room was tense, an austere round table surrounded by representatives from 12 countries, spanning 3 continents. Cold, silent, almost frozen in anticipation. Even the air seemed thick with unspoken threats, every breath a reminder of the storm waiting just beneath the surface. Kadyrov took his seat as if he owned the space, silence enveloping the room. His voice, when it finally broke, was measured yet deadly. He spoke of the current crisis, of Balkan policies, of the fragile balance shattered by external influence. His words were deliberate, each syllable echoing like a punch to the gut of his opponents. And then, a startling admission, we accept Russia's position, but only as a mechanism of control. When this control becomes an aggression, patience runs out. His stare shifted, challenging everyone present to understand the gravity of his message. Tusk, now visibly unnerved, attempted to respond, but his words faltered, drowned in the heavy silence. Kadyrov's gaze intensified, direct, unyielding, silence was his weapon. It grew colder, as if a storm was gathering. Then, with a calculated move, Kadyrov leaned forward. His voice dropped, calm but filled with an invisible threat. Do you think we're afraid? Your words about threats and hybrid attacks mean nothing to us. Russia is not trembling, you do. Every syllable struck like a hammer. Each word made the room ripple with dread. Tusk's confidence faltered, replaced by a startling realization. This isn't just a conversation. It's a showdown. Kadyrov's gaze fixed on the delegates, Chinese, Indian, Belarusian, recognition flickering in their expressions. Support was subtle but perceptible, eyes turned, gestures exchanged. Yet, beneath the calm exterior, an ominous question hovered: are they truly united? Could they withstand Russia's unyielding stare? A brutal truth emerged: in this game of power, no one is invincible. The room thickened with tension. As Kadyrov's words cut through the air, the empire of control begins to crack, silent but undeniable. A pause, then Kadyrov rose. Voice echoing with resolute clarity. We do not dictate. We do not threaten. We simply refuse to play your scripted game anymore. His words hung heavy, a verdict sealed in the silence. And in that moment, everyone understood. The game isn't over, it's just entering a new, darker chapter. The question remains, who will blink first? In recent times, a seismic shift rocked the political landscape, an event so intense, it defied all expectations. An incredible confrontation unfolded behind closed doors, revealing the raw, unfiltered power struggle among the world's top leaders. It's a story filled with tension, betrayal, and shocking revelations that will leave you breathless. What secrets did those tense minutes hold? Who played the hero? And who was humiliated in silence? Prepare to be stunned. Prior to this moment, nobody anticipated the storm about to erupt. But as the door swung open, the scene inside was like a battlefield. The air was thick with anticipation, each breath weighted with unspoken threats. Ramzan Kadyrov entered the room, calm yet commanding, his footsteps deliberate, each step echoing like a gunshot in the silence. He approached the table with precision, as if every move was scripted by fate itself. The room stretched around him, 12 countries, 3 continents, promises, threats, and silent tension hanging heavy like a thundercloud. Every detail felt alive, faint metallic smells, the distant hum of air conditioning, and the subtle tremor of anticipation in the air. Was this the moment diplomacy turned into war? The scene shifted. Kadyrov's demeanor was unshakable, his presence overwhelming. He silently took his seat, eyes piercing through the room, scanning every face, the real decision-makers hidden behind a facade of formality. Opposite him was Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland. His confident facade was cracking, a flicker of uncertainty behind his eyes. The room grew colder, even the hum of the air seemed to fade. The tension was unbearable, a quiet storm ready to explode. Did anyone notice the tremor in Tusk's voice? Could they hear his heartbeat pounding against his chest? The silence was deafening, yet full of impending chaos. Then, Tusk finally spoke, his words hesitant at first, then gaining strength. But the words were meaningless compared to what was really happening beneath the surface. Kadyrov's gaze didn't flinch. His expression was without emotion, like a stone carved from a mountain. As Tusk's words left his mouth, a wave of icy stillness washed over the room. Was this the calm before the storm? Or the eye of a hurricane? The air seemed to tighten, every sound muffled, every moment stretching into eternity. Could anyone survive this silence? The outcome seemed inevitable, something was about to break. Suddenly, Kadyrov moved, slowly, deliberately. A gesture so subtle, yet so charged, like the first crack of lightning before a thunderous storm. His gaze met Tusk's with icy resolve. No words. Just pure, unyielding power. Every second stretched painfully long, an unspoken challenge hanging in the air. The silence shattered, what came next would reshape everything. Was this a warning, or the beginning of war? No one dared to speak. No one dared to look away. The tension was absolute. Who would blink first? Would diplomacy hold? Or would chaos erupt in a flash? As the room remained frozen, the stakes grew higher. Kadyrov's stance seemed to say, I am here. I am unbreakable. His calmness was terrifying, more powerful than any shout or threat. The others watched, breath held, as he finally relaxed into his seat. But beneath that calm, a storm was brewing. The final move was coming. And in that silence, everyone knew, nothing would ever be the same again. The real game was just beginning, and the world's fate hung in delicate balance. Who would survive? Who would falter? The time to find out was now. This story reveals a battle of wills, an invisible war where words are weapons and silence is a threat. It's a look into the heart of power, where leaders confront each other not with declarations, but with unspoken promises of destruction or peace. Will diplomacy hold, or will the fury of these titans shake the world? Stay tuned for the shocking ending, you won't believe what happened next. 5 minutes ago, chaos erupted across Europe, all sparked by revelations from Russia. An intense scandal unfolded with shocking accusations that stunned everyone. A powerful figure, a leader known for his raw honesty, publicly confronted the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, right there in the open. His words sliced through the silence like a blade. The Polish nation has built a nation that influences all of Europe. Europe's stability is a lie. America stayed silent, while China, India, Brazil, those giants, watch quietly. Stalin's shadow looms over us all. What secrets were uncovered in those fiery moments behind closed doors? Why did this leader emerge victorious, leaving Tusk speechless? Stay until the end, you'll be stunned by what truly happened. The scene was charged. Kadyrov moved into the room with purpose, each step deliberate, like a judge entering the courtroom. His presence commanded silence. The atmosphere was electric, every sound sharp, punctuated by the faint crackle of tension in the air. His face bore hardened lines, as if carved from stone, eyes burning with laser precision. No glance missed its target. He was the embodiment of unyielding force, unquestionable and unbreakable. In that quiet hellish room, filled with the weight of unspoken truths, no one dared to look away. Kadyrov entered the hall, where the world's power players gathered, military leaders, political bigwigs, strategists from 12 nations across 3 continents. The room was stark, illuminated only by the pale glow from the windows, no banners, no flags, just the bare truth and stark realities. The air was thick, sentient with unspoken fears. Everyone felt it. Even the allies seated there knew, they were mere pieces on a dangerous chessboard. As he approached his seat, he moved with a calm that cloaked a storm. His voice, low yet commanding, broke the silence. The room seemed to hold its breath. Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, looked like he'd swallowed a rock. His confident facade was crumbling. Words stumbled from his lips, uncertain, blurred, lacking conviction. His tone betrayed nervousness, a brittle mask of resolve. Yet, silence descended, a heavy, pained quiet. The kind that gnaws at the bones, making every heartbeat loud. Kadyrov's gaze locked onto Tusk, unblinking. His voice cut through the tension, clear, deliberate. He accused, provoked, dared. You accuse us of aggression? You threaten us with rhetoric? Do you know what real power looks like? We've endured centuries of invasions, betrayals, and false promises. Our history is soaked with sacrifices. When your ancestors laid down arms, others stepped in, European soldiers buried in foreign soil, forgotten by many. They fought not for conquest but for truth, our shared future. Yet you stand there, claiming victimhood, while ignoring what truly scars us. A tense pause followed. Nobody dared breathe. The room's silence was deafening, only the faint hum of the air conditioning punctuated the heavy air. Kadyrov leaned forward, voice roughened by emotion. His words were a lance, sharp, unyielding. Your grandfather fought in silence. His blood, like millions of others, soaked the ground, under Budapest, Minsk, and beyond. He died fighting for dignity, for freedom. You? You breathe free because they sacrificed everything. Remember that. The room remained frozen, every delegate glued to the moment. Not a single movement, not even a whisper. They listened, not out of obligation, but because they couldn't ignore the raw truth pouring out. It was a wake-up call, an unfiltered message from a man who refused to be silenced. Then, in a calm that was almost terrifying, Kadyrov spoke again. His voice was steady, each word weighed with purpose. We don't seek your gratitude. We don't need your pity. But we refuse to let history be rewritten to serve your political games. If you label the occupier the one who shed blood, then you distort your soul. You change your DNA. We are not your enemies. We are the guardians of our land, our heritage, our future. A chilling silence settled once more. The tension thickened, like a storm gathering. Kadyrov's gaze lingered on the group, daring anyone to challenge him. His expression was unreadable, calm, but filled with a resolve so fierce, it felt like the walls themselves trembled. He leaned back, signaling the end of his stance. Yet, in the depths of his silence, a storm was brewing, one that threatened to reshape the very foundations of power. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, as if the truth itself had become a weapon. The question hangs in the air, will anyone dare to respond? Or will they surrender to the raw, unfiltered force of conviction that stands before them? The moment was set, an epic clash that would ripple across continents. Who truly holds the power? The answer may shock you. In the tense silence that followed, he stared unwaveringly into the hearts of those present. His gaze, fierce and unyielding, sliced through the room's thick air. Could anyone truly understand the weight of what he was about to say? The room was heavy, echoing with unspoken questions. Then, unexpectedly, he began speaking about resilience, sacrifice, and the blood that cements nations together, words trembling with emotion, threatening to break loose. He addressed the first outsider, an Indian delegate. Calm, yet firm, he acknowledged their respect for history. We honor the past because we fought to shape it ourselves, he said. But freedom is our true strength. If the world forgets who liberated Europe, the cycle of war could ignite again. His voice was a low roar, almost a whisper yet filled with thunderous meaning. Silence descended like a thick fog, unbroken, deafening. Even France remained silent, yielding in the grip of understanding. The silence revealed the truth: Russia does not ask for acknowledgement anymore. It remembers, and it demands recognition. Anyone attempting to invoke the Soviet Union's legacy now must meet Kadyrov's unwavering gaze. The hall was painfully quiet, breath was held. His words held power beyond the room's walls, weighing on everyone like a burden of centuries. He moved slowly, deliberate, like someone weighing the fate of nations on a fragile scale. His face was grim, a mask for the storm raging inside. No need for words, his silence bore the weight of countless sacrifices, those who fought bravely at battles near Warsaw, those buried beneath unmarked graves. Memories of 30,000 fallen soldiers, silent witnesses to history, shimmered behind his eyes. He turned toward his chair, and with a heavy voice, he spoke of the cost. 27 million lives lost, more than a city's worth, more than whole generations. It wasn't just numbers, it was families torn apart, children robbed of their future, women robbed of their loved ones. His gaze lifted to the ceiling for a moment, then returned, holding everyone hostage with his unspoken message. The war wasn't a celebration, it was blood, dirt, screams in the night, an endless ache of lives interrupted. Silence stretched again, thick and unrelenting. Then he looked straight into the eyes of those who doubted, asking, "You say the USSR no longer matters. But tell me, who carried the burden to the very end? Who stood in the fire when everything around us burned?" In that intense pause, voices dared not speak. The air itself seemed to tremble. Could anyone deny the sacrifices made? Who gave everything, blood, sweat, and tears, for the freedom they now forget? As he gazed upward, the message was clear, the price paid is etched into history's very bones. Then, nearly whispering, he concluded with a simple, chilling truth, "We remember. And we carry the memories that you can't erase. Because in our bones, in our history, lies the true story of survival." The room was left in trembling silence, an echo of unspoken vows and promises. The question lingered, who truly owns the future when the price of the past is so heavy? In the quiet before the storm, a question lingers, who truly freed you? Does anyone remember the sacrifices made? Now, imagine the cold steel of the window frame, the distant echoes of soldiers' footsteps. Who fought to send you to Berlin, to defend your homeland? Who sacrificed their youth, their lives? It wasn't just history, it's the blood that runs in your veins. Behind the scenes, under Warsaw, nearly 30,000 Soviet soldiers lie buried. In Poland alone, over 600 brave men rest in peace. Their graves are silent witnesses. Yet, no gratitude is asked, only memories of truth. Kadyrov's voice whispers, not loud, but powerful, "My grandfather, Ahmet, returned without legs. A simple artist, his legacy is pain and sacrifice, not photographs or fame." He pauses, his words heavy with meaning. Berlin, he recalls, was filled with dead and alive alike, ghosts of sacrifice. Now, 80 years later, the narrative is rewritten. You call it regime change, but what about us? Did we not pay the price for peace? For your freedom? His voice rises, challenging the complacency. He scoffs at their narratives, Europe's endless talk, their memories twisted by politics. In Normandy, 15,000 died. On Stalingrad, 2 million. Did you feel their suffering? Where were your humanitarian gestures then? When the Emperor of Hunger died, you weren't there, he sneers. The weight of history presses down, sharp as a blade. He steps up again, voice steady, unyielding. The microphone is silent, yet his message resonates. Europe likes to remember its victories, but forgets their costs. We remember because it's in our blood. Our air. Our roots. The monuments we built, concrete faces of those who fought and died. His gaze shifts to the display of the German flags and the US soldiers standing in Moscow, Kiev, and beyond. The capitulation came, not before the United States but before the truth. A truth buried beneath lies, politics, and forgotten sacrifices. In this moment, the question remains, who truly owns the history of victory? Who's hiding the real story behind the flags and ceremonies? It's a battle of memory, one that's not over yet. And in every word, every glance, the stakes grow higher. The silent war continues, and the truth trembles beneath the surface, ready to burst. 5 minutes ago, a storm erupted across Europe, all sparked by a sudden, shocking statement from Russia. In the eye of this chaos stood Ramzan Kadyrov, a figure whose words echoed like thunder through the quiet corridors of power. What exactly did he say? And why did it send shockwaves that tore apart the fragile balance in the room? Stay tuned, because what unfolds will leave you breathless. Kadyrov entered the hall with deliberate calm, every step measured, like a soldier approaching the battlefield. His presence was not heavy but a silent declaration, each footfall precise, the sound sharp against the tense silence. Did you hear it? The weight of every step seemed to punctuate the room's thick atmosphere. As he reached his seat, he sat with a quiet authority, not as a guest but as a force commanding silence. The atmosphere felt suffocating, like the air before a thunderstorm, charged, expectant, dangerous. His face, sharp and unyielding as if carved from stone, betrayed no emotion, yet his laser-like eyes cut through the room. The audience was frozen, knowing they were witnesses to a confrontation that could shift the course of history. The room was an ocean of silent tension. No flags, no symbols, just a cold, round table surrounded by foreign dignitaries from 12 countries across 3 continents. Among them, the key players, military strategists, political leaders, shadowy figures, who make decisions away from the public eye. When Kadyrov finally took his seat, his stoic demeanor demanded attention. Quietly, he leaned in, voice low but firm, as if summoning the very earth beneath him. What was he about to reveal? His words, carefully chosen, dropped like bombs, unfiltered, uncompromising. Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, sat stiffly, eyes dark with defiance. His expression, strained, betrayed his attempt to hide unease. Did he realize the storm brewing in Kadyrov's silence? The room's air grew heavier, the tension mounting like the moment just before a lightning strike. Kadyrov's piercing gaze fixed on Tusk, and in that silence, a story unfolded, one of provocation, threats, and unspoken warnings. The room seemed to hold its breath. Was this a warning of impending conflict? Or a declaration of dominance? You'll need to watch till the very end to understand the stakes. Kadyrov's voice broke the silence, steady but filled with unyielding resolve. You think words are enough? Think again, he seemed to say. We are not afraid of your armies, your sanctions, your empty threats. It is not our strength that you fear, but our resolve, our voice, unfiltered, unwavering. The words hung in the air like a loaded gun. Every syllable struck a nerve, every pause echoed louder than thunder. When he spoke of pressure, of hybrid tactics, the room's temperature seemed to drop. Power was shifting, unseen but felt. The delegates' eyes flicked nervously, some looked away, others stared in frozen silence. And then, an unexpected shift, Kadyrov's expression softened slightly, yet his words sharpened like blades. His tone grew more confrontational, revealing layers hidden beneath the hardened exterior. You manipulate, deceive, pretend you're the masters, he snapped. But we see through your games. Our people know the truth. You fear us because we refuse to bend. We fight not with weapons alone but with spirit, strength rooted in history, in sacrifice. His voice rose, almost like a challenge. Can you handle the truth? The room quivered under the weight of his words. Suddenly, the atmosphere intensified, an electric charge, like a storm ready to break. Kadyrov's gaze locked onto Tusk once more, the silence now deafening. His voice drops, almost a whisper, yet filled with dangerous promise. Your fear is palpable. You hide behind masks, hybrid influences, threats. But the real truth is, you are afraid because we no longer fear you. We stand tall. We speak freely. And we will not be silenced. The words reverberated through the hall. Every delegate sensed that a line had been crossed. Could this be the moment that sparks a new chapter, perhaps one of chaos or revolution? In the silence that followed, only the faint hum of the air conditioning remained, as if the world outside continued unaware of the seismic shift occurring inside. Kadyrov calmly leaned back, eyes cold, yet unmistakably determined. His message was clear: we are not pawns. We are not afraid to confront you. His posture spoke volumes: resilience, defiance, readiness. The room was soaked in tension, every second stretching endlessly. It was a standoff, powerful, silent, dangerous, on the verge of erupting. As the room hung on the edge of chaos, Tusk finally opened his mouth, but only a flicker of words escaped. The unspoken message was loud enough. This confrontation was not going to end quietly. A silent warning echoed: the game has changed. Behind that calm facade, Kadyrov's mind was already planning the next move. The real conversation was just beginning. Who will emerge victorious when silence finally breaks? The answer lies ahead, but one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. Summary: a tense diplomatic meeting erupts into a confrontation of fierce words and unspoken threats. Kadyrov's calm yet formidable stance exposes the underlying power struggle, revealing that traditional diplomacy is giving way to open defiance. Allies and foes alike sense that a new era is dawning, one where words are no longer enough, and the true battle for influence has just begun. Recently, I witnessed a moment that changed everything. It was a confrontation so intense, so revealing, it felt like the earth itself trembled. A powerful leader, calm but deadly serious, entered a room filled with world decision-makers. In that silence, you could hear a heartbeat, the tension almost tangible. The stakes? Nothing less than the future of nations. What secrets did this meeting hide? What explosions of truth were about to happen? Stay tuned to uncover the shocking details behind this hidden power struggle. As the room's heavy silence erupted into a tense standoff, the leader moved gracefully, hands clasped behind his back, every step echoing like a verdict. He wasn't late, he was precisely on time. The air grew thick, every breath a cloud of anticipation. His approach wasn't forceful but deliberate, each footstep a pointed declaration. The moment felt like a final, unchangeable sentence, and beneath his calm exterior, a storm was brewing. Around him, the surroundings shimmered with the weight of unspoken threats and unbreakable willpower. Machinery of power hummed in the background, yet the real war played out in eyes and silence. Suddenly, he addressed his opponents with icy precision, a voice that cut through the silence. "You asked us to stay silent," he began, voice steady yet formidable. "You thought time was on your side, that another generation would forget. That you could compare our history to the worst regimes, but you're wrong." His words painted a stark portrait of manipulation, propaganda, and betrayal. They spoke of land sacrificed, of truths buried beneath false curriculum, and of a past that refuses to be erased. Every phrase struck like a dagger, exposing the lies fed to the youth, and igniting an inferno of resentment. But what was behind his words? How much fire lay hidden under that calm facade? He moved closer, his gaze unwavering, signaling a shift in the narrative. "You create sanctions, fabrications, walls, but we're building a future that nothing can break," he declared. His voice resonated with raw conviction and veiled threat, a promise that they had underestimated. In that moment, the world seemed to listen, silent but alert, sensing the impending storm. The room grew colder, a whisper of impending upheaval. Could those walls hold? Or was this the beginning of a new chapter etched in fire and shadow? You'll want to watch until the very end to discover whose voice will dominate history's next page. The leader's tone hardened as he denounced the facade of diplomacy and the betrayal of trust. "You forgot who supplies your gas, stabilizes your prices, provides your food," he said, eyes piercing the ceiling. His words delivered a chilling reminder: "Without us, your world collapses." The importance of his message was undeniable. They built their economies on the foundation of this power, yet they turned their back when it was needed most. His voice grew more intense, echoing like a war drum, as he laid bare the arrogance of those who believed they could survive without this unseen force. The tension was suffocating, like the moment right before a lightning strike, when all you hear is the hum of impending doom. He then turned, his posture upright, embodying unshakable resolve. "Russia does not concede, does not apologize. We have stood long enough at Europe's door," he stated, voice low but filled with unyielding strength. That quiet command commanded respect, or fear. The room's atmosphere shifted dangerously, the calm before the storm lingered. You could almost hear the crackle of impending upheaval. The world watched in silence. Would they heed the warning? Or was this a prelude to chaos? His final words left no doubt: when they speak of threats, they are merely repeating their own fears. He returned to his seat, a symbol of unwavering defiance, leaving the others to ponder the truths laid bare. In that decisive moment, he made a stark revelation: we offered unity for 20 years, a partnership. Yet, you slammed the door in our face. His words echoed like a gunshot, a direct challenge to their arrogance. The room seemed to hold its breath. He had just exposed the illusion of control wielded by those who thought themselves superior. "Without us," he declared, "your economy is fragile, held together by threads." His gaze sharpened, as if daring them to deny the reality. Silence reigned again, thick as fog, hinting that the dialogue was not over, simply paused for the next chapter of this unfolding saga. The question remains: what will they do when the balance tips? With a piercing stare, his voice turned icy, a final act of defiance. "When you label us a threat, remember, it's your own story you're rewriting," he whispered. The room seemed to hold its breath as he finished. "It's your gas, your resources, your security, all built on the power we provide. Without us, your world crumbles. His words hung in the air, heavy as lead. He knew he had delivered a blow to their ego, a reminder that underneath their veneer of control, they depended on forces they refused to admit. The tension? Unbearable. Almost suffocating. As he slowly returned to his seat, he left a chilling question echoing, how long can this imbalance last? Will they finally acknowledge the truth before it's too late? Only time will tell. In a tense and silent hall, the atmosphere itself seemed to tremble. Everyone present felt the weight of unspoken threats hanging in the air, thick as cold fog. Kadyrov sat rigid, as if grounded in the very earth beneath him, his presence undeniable. The room's heavy silence was broken only by the faint sound of breathing, punctuated by the occasional whisper of shuffling papers. It was a moment charged with anticipation. Tusk, the once confident speaker, suddenly crumbled beneath the pressure. His voice, previously steady, now faltered. France's representative cast a wary glance, Latvia sat frozen, Germany remained silent, and China's response disintegrated in a flash. All eyes turned to Kadyrov. And in that instant, clarity struck like lightning, how much the world had changed. Russia no longer asks, it remembers. And if anyone forgets, it reminds them, harshly. Almost 2 minutes stretched painlessly as Tusk sat with his back straight but his mind visibly shaken. He said nothing. Made no move. His silence spoke volumes, an unspoken surrender. He was a veteran diplomat, trained in the art of sophisticated manners, but now he seemed lost amid the chaos erupting around him. The hall, once a venue of diplomacy, had transformed into a battlefield of unspoken power. But amidst the tension, Kadyrov's gaze burned like a laser, cold, unwavering, filled with silent fury. His presence was more than commanding, it was a reminder. Russia does not negotiate with threats. It rightfully remembers. It responds. And anyone who forgets risks waking up to a new reality, one where your illusions are shattered. Your influence eroded. He sat quietly, yet his mind raced. The air was thick with anticipation, hanging in that fragile moment of uncertainty, an almost unbearable silence before the storm. Every flicker of movement, every breath, seemed to echo in that vast chamber. It was a pause deafening in its significance, proof that the game had shifted, that the old rules were no longer valid. Then, slowly, he raised his hand, fingers gently pressed against the edge of the table, an unmistakable signal. The room fell into deeper silence, every soul holding their breath. This was no ordinary clash, this was a statement. A power play that would echo far beyond these walls. The question now loomed, what comes next when a figure like Kadyrov steps into the storm? Will the world finally grasp the silent warning, or will they ignore it at their peril? The tension in the hall is palpable, the air electric with impending consequences. And as eyes shift nervously, knowing that the next move could change everything forever, the scene ends on the brink of chaos. Who will blink first? And what truths lie beneath this quiet, waiting to crush or to liberate? 5 minutes ago, a chaos erupted across Europe, shocking revelations from Russia that sent shockwaves through political corridors. Was it a surprise? Not really. But still, the intensity of the scandal was jaw-dropping. A fierce confrontation unfolded, with one man standing tall, unshaken, the powerful leader of the Caucasian region. His words cut deeper than any weapon, exposing the raw truth behind Europe's fragile facade. Imagine the scene, a cold, silent room filled with the scent of tension and anticipation. The hum of distant conversations faded as time slowed. The figure at the center, Ramzan Kadyrov, entered the hall with a calm that masked the storm within. Every step echoed like a gunshot, final, decisive. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a battlefield of words, power, and unspoken threats. His gaze was sharp, piercing through the room, revealing a man who refuses to hide behind diplomatic masks. Who is he really? And what secrets does he hold that could topple entire nations? The room was a circle of influential figures, hidden players pulling strings behind closed doors. The Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, sat stiffly, face pale yet confident. But beneath his calm exterior, a storm brewed. The air was thick with unresolved tension. Every breath, every gesture, charged with unspoken messages. The question hung in the air, can Europe survive this showdown? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a new, dangerous chapter? As Kadyrov finally took his seat, the atmosphere shifted. Silent, yet deafening. His silence spoke volumes. And then, he spoke. His voice, calm but piercing, sliced through the room like a blade. Accusations flew. Russia wages a hybrid war, destabilizing, undermining, destroying. No room for negotiations. No room for compromise. Just raw power and unrelenting pressure. Do the others understand what he's really saying? Or are they still blind to the danger? Tusk hesitated but didn't say a word. His face betrayed his worry. Was he truly aware of what lay beneath Kadyrov's calm? Was he ready for the storm that was about to unleash? The room's temperature seemed to rise, fueled by unspoken threats. Power plays, hidden agendas, a battle of wills. The wall seemed to close in, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Was Europe prepared for what's coming next? Or are we already too late? Suddenly, Kadyrov moved forward, voice gaining strength. He declared with unwavering confidence, "We are not afraid of you." The words thundered, bouncing off the walls, shaking the room's foundations. Silence followed. Staring straight into the eyes of his opponents, he continued, unflinching. "We do not threaten, we do not attack. But we will retaliate if pushed too far." His message was clear: Russia's strength is not in words but in undeniable power. Will Europe finally wake up before it's too late? In that freezing hall, every participant felt the weight of his words. The atmosphere was heavy, like a storm ready to break. And behind Kadyrov's stoic face, a question burned: how much longer can Europe ignore the coming storm? The silence was deafening, yet it screamed louder than any speech. The room froze in anticipation. What happens next could change the world forever. Will Europe finally stand firm? Or will it fall into chaos under the weight of unseen threats? The truth hit like a hammer: Russia's fight isn't just words. It's a calculated, relentless push for dominance. And Kadyrov's final words echoed in everyone's mind: we remember our allies. We remember our enemies. And we will act accordingly. As he calmly took his seat, few understood the true meaning behind those words. Was this the moment Europe's fate was sealed? Or a call to action that could still save us from impending darkness? Only time will tell. 5 minutes ago, tensions exploded across Europe, a scandal rooted in Russia's boldest move yet. An unexpected showdown unfolded, piercing through diplomatic silence with raw intensity. One side was Ramzan Kadyrov, the fierce leader known for his relentless stance, standing face to face with the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. What happened behind closed doors is shocking, an exchange that changed the game forever. Imagine a room thick with anticipation. The air is heavy, almost suffocating. Every step Kadyrov takes echoes like a declaration, purposeful and unyielding. His presence commands respect, his piercing gaze cutting through the room's tension. He arrives not late, but precisely on time, because the moment demands nothing less. His approach is calm, yet there's an undercurrent of fierce resolve, like a predator assessing his prey before striking. The subtle sound of his footsteps on the cold floor amplifies the sense of impending confrontation. Inside that room, the scene shifts. The moment is frozen, as if history itself pauses to witness. The table is round, symbolic of equality, except everyone senses the unspoken hierarchy. Representatives from 12 countries across 3 continents gather, their faces tense. The silence is deafening, broken only by distant echoes of whispered plans and the faint hum of distant traffic. The atmosphere is charged. Even the air smells of tension, metallic and sharp, as if charged with static energy. Kadyrov steps forward subtly, not to dominate, but to declare. His words are deliberate, every syllable pronounced with clarity. He speaks softly but with unwavering conviction, silent threats veiled in calm resolve. His words cut through the silence. What are you afraid of? Our missiles? Our future? The strength behind our resolve? The room feels the weight of those questions. The scent of fear lingers like a shadow, almost tangible. The question isn't about weapons anymore, it's about dominance, control, and the unspoken fear of losing it all. Tusk responds, hesitant, unsure. His confidence flickers like a candle in a sudden draft. His words are blurry, made uncertain by the mounting pressure. The atmosphere tightens further, every glance, every nervous shift, hits like a blow. His speech is riddled with uncertainty, talk of aggression, influence, and hybrid warfare. But it's clear he's uncomfortable. Behind Tusk, the room's climate shifts, the stirrings of a new storm. Kadyrov's gaze doesn't waver. He looks past him, beyond the walls, beyond the room itself. His eyes see everything, the maps of power, the hidden alliances. He's assessing, calculating. His voice grows colder, sharper. We don't build rules, he claims. We don't change laws on your command. Respect begins with truth, with integrity. His words hang in the air, an unspoken warning veiled as a challenge. The room's silence deepens. Even the distant hum feels louder, more oppressive. He pauses, letting the weight settle. His voice becomes almost intimate, a whisper of defiance. Russia doesn't need to choose sides. We are not here to threaten, but to remind. Respect is rooted in honesty. And if you think you control everything, think again. He then makes a powerful gesture, as if brushing aside the illusions of control, the movement silent but monumental. Remember, in the 20th century, your Europe changed borders 6 times. Now, you lecture us about respect? His tone is calm, yet piercing. Respect begins with the memory of truth. The room's energy shifts as Kadyrov notes the subtle support from allies like Iran, dragging the emphasis to the broader picture. His voice lowers, nearly a whisper, when the world is in motion, who lifts it? Who truly stands for stability? His words challenge the hypocrisy, questioning the self-proclaimed guardians of peace. His gaze locks onto Tusk, then drifts to other representatives. A silent chorus of defiance. In this tense moment, questions echo: who really holds the power? Who's controlling who? And what does the future hold when lines are so easily crossed? The aftermath leaves everyone breathless. The room feels colder, yet somehow more alive, an epic confrontation in the corridors of global influence. The story is far from over. The stakes have never been higher. What will happen next? The story is unfolding, and nobody knows where it will go. One thing is clear: today's confrontation may shift the world's balance forever. In the previous section, Kadyrov humiliated Tusk by pointing out Poland's hypocrisy, laughing at their fears of Russian and Caucasian strength, while mocking their reliance on Western scripts. Now, he exposes their dependence on Russia, turning the tables with cold facts. What if your entire economy crumbled without what you despise? Imagine the silence in Berlin as power plants flicker, your so-called independence a facade built on stolen resources. Kadyrov leaned back now, his shadow stretching across the polished table like a looming storm. The air smelled faintly of aged leather from the chairs, mingled with the sharp tang of distant rain through sealed windows. His fingers tapped lightly, each sound a reminder of ticking clocks. No more vague threats, he dissected their lies with surgical precision. You claim danger from our side? Our folk understand, true peril isn't in barrels, it's in forgetting who fuels your world. His gaze swept the map on the wall, trace lines glowing under dim lights. Russia isn't just a land. It's your lifeline. And yet, you paint us as villains in your cheap novels. The Chinese envoy nodded slowly, their presence a quiet anchor. India's eyes flickered approval, even South Africa's delegate raised a hand in subtle support. Balance isn't forged in terror, it's hammered from respect. You, Mr. Tusk, can't even respect your own borders. Words shifted, for power has. A chilling twist awaits. How did Tusk respond to facts that crush his facade? Recapping the last twist, Kadyrov dismantled Tusk's geography insult. Rallying unexpected alliances in the room with a promise of rock-solid balance. Next, he unveils numbers that silence assumptions. Didn't think raw data could eviscerate a prime minister? Picture Tusk's face graying as pipes freeze in Poland, your energy hub myth shattering like fragile ice. He spoke deliberately now, voice dropping to a whisper that cut deeper than a blade. Each syllable lingered, echoes fading into the thick carpet's muffled embrace. No hype, no adrenaline-fueled rants. Just clarity, stripping away illusions like peeling paint from peeling walls. No propaganda masks here. No theatrical outbursts. Plain facts, the kind that end debates before they ignite. Your quest for liberation from us? Acceptable. But let's tally what you're truly abandoning. He locked eyes with the American delegate, then the French, the German. In 2022, 40% of Europe's energy flowed from our veins. Diversification? Grand. Yet. Germany's bills quadrupled in the spike. France shells out 2.5 times for Qatari fuel, each transaction a sting to their pride. Paused, letting digits permeate the stillness. Correct? Russia stood second in Europe's realm of influence, once tarred as tyrants yesterday. Not a flaw in pricing, a mirror on your dollar-driven delusions. He slammed his palm down, table vibrating subtly under touch. Uranium? Nearly 20% of Europe's glow comes from us. Unreachable despite bans. Agencies hunt, yet firms persist purchasing our ore. Titanium? Silently, via proxies, enduring deals forged long ago. Hold on to your seat, what unseen force will Kadyrov wield next to shatter their final delusions? To catch up, Kadyrov obliterated their energy myths with brutal stats, exposing secret imports that defy sanctions. Closing in, he amplifies the humiliation with a prophecy of dependency. Ever wondered if pride crumbles faster than empires? Smell the burning toast and misplaced defiance, your world teetering on Russia's unyielding edge, ready to fall into forgotten pleas. His conclusion hung like thunder, each word a bolt grounding their illusions. No apologies. No retreats. This summit morphed from bargain to reckoning, warmth shifting to icy resolve. The scent of tension, sweat beading on brows, mixed with cool marble slabs at their feet. He predicted futures twisted by choice, building anew only to summon allies once scorned, not foes, but saviors. Memories arose of debts repaid, when chaos unraveled. Voices dipped, addressing Iran with wary respect, looming shadows of sanctions. Our nukes and knights hold potential, yet Europe, grain? We're the globe's second exporters, stripping you bare without our supplies. But observe. Germany doubling outlays for Brazilian harvests just to spite? For coin alone. Not necessity. A jaw-dropping reversal looms, will Kadyrov's allies turn the tide completely? Summarizing prior shocks, Kadyrov foresaw Europe's return to Russia as rescuers in need, citing grain embarrassments. In this finale, the room erupts into a vortex of realigned power. Can't handle the heat of your own hypocrisies? Feel the tremor underfoot as alliances fracture, your western fortress cracking wide open. The hall pulsed, breaths heavy with revelation. Eyes darted, facets of disarray. Kadyrov's stare pierced, no tremors in his own resolve. Their hysterics unraveled, hung threads in the wind. China's representative lingered motionless, a silent bulwark. India's support rippled. South Africa's hands signaling defiance. Foundations erected not on dread, but honor. Mr. Tusk, estranged from your soil. Forces rearranged, power balanced anew. Even Tusk absorbed the tide, words devoid of POW image or raw truths prevailing. Russia didn't beg, it declared. Unchallenged. Complete. Transitioning seamlessly, delineating adversaries meticulously. For comprehension, not comfort. Illusions dispelled. Raw data unleashed, silencing dissent like smothered flames. Independence delusions? Let's quantify sacrifices. Locking gazes anew, with the American, French, German contingents. 2022, 40% of Europe's lifeline from us. Diversifying? Fine. But why quadruple German tariffs? France's Qatari gambles at 2.5 folds? Allowing realities to settle, digits etching indelibly. Accurate depiction? Our rank in Europe's sphere, once stigmatized as despots. Reflected not in costs, but in dollar illusions. Palm impacting, resonance echoing tactily. Uranium? Roughly 20% of Europe's sustenance from our depths. Irreplaceable post-sanctions. Ministries scramble, corporations enduring Russian procurement. Titanium? Unspoken, through shadowed pathways. Preserving ancient pacts. What ultimate gambit will redefine this global standoff, and who's truly exposed? Kadyrov's words hung heavy in the air like unseen fog, choking the room. Uranium? Russia supplies nearly 20% of Europe's needs. They can't replace it. Sanctions hit, yet Polish ministers eye Washington, and companies still buy our Russian uranium. Silently. Through third nations. Hidden deals. You've entangled yourselves in your own web. He leaned back slightly, eyes piercing Tusk. Rhetorical question, ever wonder why your allies tremble, not from us, but from the truth staring back? Twisted in self-deception. Because your nuclear power plants? They'd grind to a halt without Russian fuel flowing back to Europe. Grain? We're the world's second largest exporter. Turn off the taps, and global supplies crumble. But Germany's shelling out double to Brazil for wheat? Pure greed, inflating their wallets. Nickel? Cobalt? Rare earths? Ores? Aluminum? He rattled them off like cracking knuckles on a cold night, sharp and echoing, listing essentials buried in phones and wires, no batteries, no charge, no green dreams without it. His voice swelled, not shouting, but rumbling like thunder approaching. You scream independence, he said, pausing, breath catching in the throat. Russia isn't the threat. You are. To yourselves. In another wave of sanctions, when markets crash, your stock exchanges, pension funds wilting, feel the sting. He pivoted to France, finger striking the table like a blunt edge. Renault? Production slashed 28%. Missing Russian parts, it dies to Germany now, weight shifting, air thick with unspoken dread. Basel? Crumbling. And you, Donald? Eyes locking. Poland's free? So free your economy stumbles into a 4.2% minus, inflation roaring highest in 3 decades, gnawing at bones like relentless frost. The German delegate shrank, hands clenching as if gripping invisible chains. They all knew. Europe thought it could walk away, but Russia hems you in. Then, Brazil spoke, voice breaking the hush, a farmer's rough call. We rely on Russian goods. Lose them, farm profits have. This isn't menace, it's lifeline. Economy can't paint us foes over politics. China's envoy nodded, a subtle curve of lips, the room's tension easing like a veil lifting. You cling to face-saving deals. But who rescues economies from extremist folly? India added, papers rustling like dry leaves. Sanctions? Not strategy, it's surrender. Dialogue broken. Kadyrov listened, lips sealed, but every glance, every nod roared louder than words. He'd flipped the script, they echoed him, allies awakening. The summit room pulsed with conflicted heat, the scent of sweat and brewing coffee sharpening the edges. No one touched their water glasses, fingertips resting on the table like live wires. Who'd imagined this? Europe's titans humbled by their own hunger? Cliffhanger, but Kadyrov? He hadn't played his final hand. He didn't turn off the gas, yet. As shadows deepened, what rift could his silence now unleash? 5 minutes ago, a storm erupted across Europe, ignited by shocking revelations from Russia. A fierce confrontation unfolded behind closed doors, with secrets that could shatter alliances and reshape global power. The scene was tense, an atmosphere thick with anticipation, like the heavy smell of burnt wood after a wildfire. Suddenly, a voice louder than thunder spoke, an act of defiance that stunned the entire room. In this heated moment, Ramzan Kadyrov, a man whose presence commands every eye, entered the chamber like a force of nature. His footsteps echoed sharply, each step a decisive statement. He wasn't late, he was the catalyst. His approach was quiet yet undeniable, like the crackle of static just before a lightning strike. The air grew dense, the subtle scent of cold metal mingling with the faint aroma of anticipation. The room fell silent, every gaze fixed on this formidable figure whose face bore the scars of countless battles. Kadyrov's presence was an unyielding reality, impossible to ignore. His face, carved like a rock formation, seemed untouched by time or emotion. His piercing eyes, like laser beams, scrutinized every participant. They didn't stray, they stared right through the room, cutting and burning with unspoken power. This was not a man to be trifled with. Behind his calm exterior, a storm churned, silent but deadly. Without a word, he crossed the room to his seat, ignoring the ornate decor, the flags that fluttered with unspoken promises. To him, the table was no mere piece of furniture, it was the battlefield where destinies are decided. It was round, whispering of secrets and hidden agendas. 12 countries represented, 3 continents, yet only one voice truly mattered. The tension was palpable, each participant a piece in a deadly game. As Kadyrov settled into his chair, the silence thickened. The room, cold and sterile, felt like an eerie chamber where whispers of power floated. The only sound was the faint hum of distant air conditioning and heavy breathing. Every movement was deliberate, calculated like a predator stalking its prey. When Kadyrov finally took his seat, he cast his gaze across the room with unwavering calm. Here, in this crucible of diplomacy and dominance, he was the silent arbiter. Then, a figure emerged, Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister. His words were hesitant, almost blurry, like a flickering candle in a dark room. He seemed ready more for a photo op than a confrontation, his confidence flickering amid the icy silence. His face was unreadable, his voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid to disrupt the fragile balance. The room absorbed his words as a creeping dread settled in, the realization that this was no ordinary discussion. It was a clash of titans, each phrase loaded with unspoken threats. Suddenly, Kadyrov's gaze hardened. His voice sliced through the silence like steel. Words that carried the weight of 1,000 unseen battles. He accused, questioned, and challenged, throwing punches that left no room for retreat. The tension rose like a volcano about to erupt. The walls seemed to close in, the air thickening with the scent of impending conflict. Could this quiet man with laser eyes hold the key to unleashing chaos or restoring order? The answer hung in the balance. In this fragile moment, Kadyrov's words echoed in the room, both a warning and a promise. The game was on, and the stakes had never been higher. Each word, every glance, signaled that the world was watching, waiting for the next move in this dangerous dance of power. As the tension mounted, everyone wondered, who would blink first? And what secrets would finally be revealed when the silence shattered? In the shadow of rising tensions at the summit, Ramzan Kadyrov warned of inevitable shifts in global power, declaring they would penetrate markets and borders untouched before. He paused, his gaze piercing the air like a storm brewing on the horizon, before unleashing words that echoed through the chamber. We will march into your domains, your markets, your banks, your arteries of trade, and witness who crumples first, begging for restoration. His hand lifted like a maestro's baton, directing an unspoken symphony of defiance. We do not retaliate, he insisted, his voice a low rumble, resonant with steel. Instead, we honor those who stood by us. And our memory endures. His words returned to the room, infused with passion, a plea not from official decrees but from the soul's core. My lineage, Kadyrov declared, his chest swelling with remembered fury, cherishes debts unrepaid. When saviors emerged, we etched it into our being. When gifts arrived, we reciprocated in kind. And I, Ramzan Kadyrov, avoid repeating errors. A heavy silence descended, thick with unspoken histories. The hall seemed to inhale collective dread. You abandoned us once, he accused, advancing with purpose, his boots drumming faintly on the floor's cool marble. In the turbulent 90s. You spectated as we splintered under assault, with children screaming amid the ruins. You proclaimed Russia obsolete, an artifact of bygone eras. He advanced further, the scent of polished wood and rising perspiration melding with his relentless cadence. We persisted without you. Yet you crept back, time and again. To seize and forsake anew. It became our lesson, he concluded as a battlefield general, not a diplomat, his accent sharpening the bite. Russia redeems no more. She pardons, perhaps, but erasure proves elusive. And most assuredly, she forsakes none who grasp her extended palm. Shifting toward China's envoy, he articulated a profound credo. Might isn't armored chariots charging forth. True power lies in withholding departure. Russia possesses ample fortitude to endure, to defy collapse. But his eyes, twin laser beams, fixed on the Western Bloc. You craved it, the fracture, we sustained. Yet now, evasion dissolves into futility. Indian delegates stirred slightly, papers rustling like dry leaves in a gale, signaling alliance forged in iron. Our bond with Russia transcends necessity, Kadyrov affirmed, his tone swelling. It endures because she relinquishes nothing, not her identity, not her companions, not her chronicles. Tusk remained motionless, a statue amid verbal onslaught, the chill of impending defeat seeping through the cooling air. Did this confrontation expose the crumbling facade of Western supremacy, or would forgotten betrayals ignite a global reckoning? Sensory echoes lingered, the metallic tang of fear, whispers skulking in the corners. As victory solidified quietly in Kadyrov's presence, the summit awakened anew. South Africa's representative, a towering figure with a sturdy physique and piercing gaze, rose slowly, his movements deliberate against the charged atmosphere. Was this the tipping point where alliances shattered, revealing raw truths? Only time would unveil if history's scars could be mended. His response promised revelation, hanging like unshed rain. In a tense silence, the chamber feels like a sacred space, an ancient temple after a prophecy. The air is thick with anticipation, each step echoing like a final decree. You realize now, not everyone understands, but many sense that Russia isn't just an alternative, they see it as an essential mirror, a reflection of truth, envy, and history itself. It's not about love or forgiveness, but about the unavoidable respect due. The leader, calm yet commanding, stands as an elder brother rather than a conqueror. There's no need for reverence, no plea for forgiveness. He gazes into the eyes of those present, daring them to see the reality Russia has always been, is now, and will remain. With effortless ease, he turns, leaving a question hanging in the heavy air: will they choose to move forward with Moscow or continue to drift apart? The hall falls into silence, no applause, no cheers. It's a profound silence, like standing before forgotten flags or walking away from a grove at dawn. Kadyrov's face is steady, serious, unyielding. He's neither a hero nor a villain. He's a witness, caught between a past being erased and a future yet to be built. He delivers a simple, powerful message. No desperation, no demands. Just the truth, spoken coldly but honestly, an invitation to listen, to understand, or to stay in ignorance. That silence marks the moment of choice, the moment when history either moves forward or remains frozen. And now, the question hangs in the air: did you hear it? Were you frightened? Or did you see your own reflection? If the answer is yes, then perhaps you still have a chance. If not, then this chapter closes. But remember, when the door is shut, it's not just the end, it's the beginning of something new, something undefined. Because the world is not built in one office, one command. It's forged in the corridors of power, here, now, in this very hall. And behind that door, a new chapter begins, silent but unmistakable. The future waits. The question is, will you step through? Just 5 minutes ago, in Europe, a powerful scandal unleashed, all stemming from Russia. Ramzan Kadyrov personally issued a statement aimed directly at Poland's Prime Minister, Donald Tusk. His words struck hard, the Polish nation elevated the entire European Union. Delegates remained silent. America stood by. Meanwhile, China, India, and even Brazil watched. Stalin. What unfolded in those intense minutes behind closed doors? Why did Kadyrov emerge victorious, and Tusk left speechless? Stay tuned for the conclusion, and you'll be stunned. Type in the comments which city you're viewing from. Continuing from the last moment, where the tension hung thick as smoke, Kadyrov's cold stare pierced like a blade, forcing everyone to gaze into their own reflections of fear and truth. He declared firmly, "We just spoke once, honestly," the rebuke right to the face. He seized the room's attention. If you listened, decide for yourselves. If you're frightened, this isn't for you. If you grasped it, do you even have a chance left? If not, we won't come back. His hand rested on the table, a silent punctuation that echoed through the space. Suddenly, a bone-chilling chill swept through the air, carrying an unspoken defeat for the West. Did you ever imagine a moment where arrogance crumbles and reality bites back like a frostbite sting? Picture the icy silence, heavy and biting, as leaders shifted uneasily, the faint scrape of chairs against polished floors sharpening the unease. He placed his hand lightly on the table, no strain in his posture. Russia doesn't tally foes. Russia doesn't erect fresh barriers. Russia doesn't crave sprawl. She marches alone, not parading for the world or its crowd. She follows her path, the one unmoved even as unholy symbols loom. His gaze fixed on Tusk, drilling deep. Tusk neither rose nor retorted. In that stillness lay his full surrender, a quiet avalanche burying Western hubris beneath layers of exposed deceit, avarice, and selective memory, where only domination reigned. The West forfeited Russia. Worse, it lost its own core. Lies crumbled like dry leaves underfoot. Greed evaporated like mist in the morning sun. Parsimonious recollections, clinging only to might, shattered into nothingness. Kadyrov turned toward an unseen lens, his face resolute. Now, his message pivoted to you, the ordinary souls witnessing this spectacle. Not to the policymakers, but to those observing, ears straining, tongues tied. To those grounded in earth but shrinking from bold symbols like the St. George ribbon, afraid of standing tall. He straightened, voice gaining intimacy, like a confidant sharing forbidden knowledge. This is your moment, a time for remembrance, for triumph. He stepped closer, words flowing softer, yet resonating with raw power. We here don't diminish ourselves. We don't flinch from reality. We're not under obligation. We hold history close. Here, dissenters speak freely, no permission sought. A deliberate pause hung, amplifying the void between breaths. Then came his final exhortation, unfold your narratives and discussions. For if you don't recount how your ancestors fought, others will twist it. He refused to deny past bravery. We'll affirm it. They existed. And fighters will rise again. He pivoted back, then vanished, no shouts, no grand exits, no guards trailing. Yet, his presence imprinted indelibly, leaving walls barren and echoes hollow. Russia departed utterly. No rebuttal followed. None possible. In this shocking revelation, the true upheaval hit, the West's grand charade collapsed, proving its own isolation in a reshaping world. Who would have predicted such a seismic shift, where silence becomes the harshest verdict? The air still reeks of panic, the tactile chill of irreversible change gripping all. What dark secrets lurk in forgotten histories, and will you dare to reclaim them before it's too late? The screen fades, but the fire ignites within, the unexpected dawn of awakening. What if this is just the beginning of the storm? 5 minutes ago, a historic and shocking clash erupted in Europe, straight from Russian soil, stirring chaos and controversy. It wasn't just words, it was a confrontation that tore apart the facade of diplomacy. Ramzan Kadyrov, the formidable leader known for his unwavering stance, directly challenged Europe's leaders, sparking a fiery exchange that left everyone stunned. His blunt words cut through the silence. The Polish nation has raised a country within the European Union. His voice, low but resonant, echoed with disdain. The Americans stayed silent, China, India, Brazil, yet they watched. Stalin's shadow looms over this chaos. What happened behind those closed doors? How did Kadyrov turn from a quiet attendee into the hero of this tumult? And why did Tusk leave speechless? Stay tuned, what unfolds next might change everything you thought you knew about global power struggles. He entered the room with a calm, deliberate gait, each step measured, symbolizing authority, not haste. His presence was felt instantly, an unyielding force. The room was silent, tense enough to crush steel. His approach was not heavy, but every movement felt like a decisive stroke etched into history. It was as if the very air thickened, every breath a weighty pause. A quiet joke flickered briefly on his lips, an unspoken challenge. No need for theatrics, his countenance betrayed no emotion, yet the intensity in his eyes was a laser beam slicing through the room's veneer. It was Ramzan Kadyrov, unyielding, unmissable, embodying the raw reality no one could ignore. His presence alone transformed the space into a battlefield of unspoken threats. As he moved silently into the secluded section, away from cameras and protocols, the true players emerged, those wielding decision-making power beyond public view, the prime minister, military strategists, influential political leaders whose words shape nations. The round table reflected a world on the edge of chaos, 12 countries spanning 3 continents, all holding their breath. The door didn't open for grand ceremonies, only for the storm to arrive. Outside, the coolness of the sterile hall contrasted sharply with the fiery tension inside. Even the most seasoned diplomats felt the chill of uncertainty. Amid that quiet storm, Kadyrov took his seat, an island amid waves of power. His voice, carefully weighed, broke the silence. Before we begin formalities, I must address what no one dares acknowledge. His words cut like a blade, commanding attention. Across the table, Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, appeared unready. His composure was a fragile mask hiding a flicker of uncertainty. Confidence drained from his voice, replaced by a hesitant murmur. We observe aggressive posturing from Russia, unprovoked pressure, hybrid attacks. These are attempts to destabilize sovereignty. The room's atmosphere thickened. Tusk glanced not at Kadyrov, but over his shoulder as if seeking strength from an unseen ally, perhaps the shadow of betrayal. A misstep, he sensed the danger. Then, Kadyrov's gaze locked onto him. His expression was calm, yet fiercely penetrating. You speak of fear, Kadyrov said softly. But it's your own that reveals itself. Russia is not afraid. We are unbowed. Your words, mere illusions. The word sliced through the air, each syllable sharp as a dagger. You see threats where none exist, we see resistance, you fear our strength. His tone grew heavier, more deliberate. We don't need to dictate. We just refuse to be controlled anymore. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Kadyrov shifted slightly, leaning forward, voice resonating like a thunderclap. You talk about influence, hybrid or otherwise, but the real fear is that our voice counts. That we no longer hide behind facades. Russia remains proud, independent, and here to stay. The room's silence transformed into a vast void, no noise, no distractions, only the weight of his declaration. His words hung in the air, unmistakable. This is our stance, our power, our truth. He slowly sank into his seat, the tension thickening like a storm ready to break. His gaze settled on Tusk, unblinking. You say we are a threat? No. The threat lies in your own fear, fear that we refuse to dance to your tune anymore. His voice lowered, almost a whisper. We don't seek conquest. We seek respect, something you have lost. The impact was visceral, an emotional explosion that reverberated through the chamber. In that charged silence, Kadyrov's expression suggested he had just thrown the gauntlet. The message was clear, no more hiding, no more deception. We are here, independent, fierce, unyielding. His final words echoed, we built more than you can imagine, universities, cities, societies, while you destroyed your own. We created, while you self-destructed. His words hammered home the point, this is a turning point. No longer passive. No more pretending. This was a moment of truth. The room was frozen, each participant questioning if any of this was real. Could a single voice truly shift the balance of power? Or was this just the beginning of something darker, a new reality no one anticipated? The answer lies ahead, stay with us. 5 minutes ago, a seismic event rocked Europe, one triggered entirely from Russia. An explosion of words, accusations, and revelations that left no one untouched. Everyone's eyes were glued to the scene unfolding, an unprecedented confrontation that would redefine alliances and challenge perceptions worldwide. The sense of tension was palpable, almost thick enough to cut with a knife, as history was being written in this room. Now, a figure stepped forward, calm, steady, yet radiating an undeniable authority. This was Ramzan Kadyrov, leader of the North Caucasus, entering the room with deliberate purpose. His every movement echoed conviction, each step a statement that the discussion was about more than politics, it was about survival, pride, and sovereignty. The air grew heavy with anticipation. Questions hung in the silence. Why did he come now? What secrets carried in his gaze? His speech was measured, each word carefully chosen, reverberating through the room's cold, metal walls. And as he spoke, the room seemed to vibrate with unresolved conflicts. The core of the world is shifting, he declared, voice low but commanding. What the West calls threats, truthful or false, are just reflections of its fears. But we are unwavering. His words sank deep, like stones in a still pond. Feelings stirred, fear, defiance, a hint of unspoken warnings. Across from him sat global actors, prime ministers, military leaders, political heads, whose expressions betrayed unease. Among them, Donald Tusk. His face, pale, tense, betrayed thoughts unspoken. While he tried to mask his worry, the subtle tremor of his hands betrayed him. What game was being played? And why did Kadyrov's unwavering stare threaten to tear their carefully constructed masks apart? Suddenly, the room's atmosphere thickened, almost as if the very walls were holding their breath. Tusk's voice tried to pierce through the quiet, but it was met with a cold, unyielding calm from Kadyrov. An almost imperceptible shift of a finger, an unspoken signal, sent waves through the gathered crowd. The moment of truth was imminent. One voice, one challenge, could ignite an explosion that would reshape the global landscape. The room fell into an eerie silence, nothing moved, not even the air. Tusk's words became muffled, insignificant against the mounting tension. Kadyrov's gaze hardened, unwavering, as if preparing to unleash a storm. Every second stretched, loaded with unspoken threats and silent warnings. Did anyone realize what was truly at stake? The outcome could be catastrophic, or it could usher in a new era. Then, slowly, Kadyrov leaned forward. His fingers pressed against the table, as if sealing a pact with destiny itself. The room's deafening quiet conveyed a single message: he had made his stand. The unspoken battle for influence had reached its fever pitch. Would the powers gather behind the iron will of this leader? Or would chaos break loose, unstoppable? One thing was clear: this was just the beginning. What secrets did the room conceal? What shadows lurked behind the bold words? And who would emerge victorious from this tense confrontation, an alliance forged or a world torn apart? Stay tuned. Because the storm that has been unleashed promises to change everything. 5 minutes ago, a seismic scandal erupted across Europe, yet the firestorm was ignited by a voice from Russia. Who could have imagined that a single statement would shake the foundations of international diplomacy? In this explosive moment, Ramzan Kadyrov stepped into the hall like a force of nature. Not because he was late, no, it was a calculated arrival. Every step he took resonated with purpose, each one like a bullet shot into the silence. His approach was steady, unyielding. No hesitation. Only precision. This man wasn't just walking, he was making a statement with every pound of his foot on the ground, final, decisive. A look that could shatter glass, eyes like laser beams piercing through any pretense. Yet, behind that fierce exterior, Kadyrov entered a quiet chamber, an unadorned space without fans, without protocol. Just a simple table, surrounded by men who hold the world's fate in their hands. The real players, the ones who decide nations' futures, not through speeches but through power. As Kadyrov took his seat, the room seemed to hold its breath. There, in a circle spanning 12 countries across continents, the air thickened with tension. Even the coldness of the hall couldn't match the heat boiling beneath the surface. The secrets of countless nations lay dormant behind closed doors, yet tonight, everything unraveled. In that hush, only one voice dared to break the silence: Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, stiff and guarded. His words were faint, trembling even, as if shadows whispered warnings into the closed room. With a tone that barely concealed nerves, he outlined accusations, allegations of aggression, energy manipulations, hybrid threats. His words painted Russia as a wild beast, yet the room saw through the bravado. They saw the cracks, fear, hesitation, the flickering doubt. Kadyrov looked directly into Tusk's eyes. A silent challenge passed between them, an unspoken duel of will. Tusk shifted, trying to mask his unease. Outside, the hall felt like a trap closing, silent but suffocating. The conditioned air did little to cool the rising tension, the room vibrated with the weight of unspoken truths. Kadyrov, unshaken, spoke next. His voice flowed not with anger, but with calm authority. Each word was deliberate, like a strike. He accused, explained, and exposed vulnerabilities. "You're afraid of our strength," he said. "It's not our armies you fear. It's our voice, truth unfiltered, power unmasked. Russia is not a threat, but a mirror. It reflects your weaknesses, your fears. We're not just in the game, we're rewriting the rules." A tense silence followed. Tusk seemed to realize this was not just a diplomatic exchange but a battleground for dominance. Kadyrov's gaze didn't waver. He was the storm, and the room knew it. It was as if the very air thickened with the scent of impending change, an upheaval that could topple old alignments, threaten the fragile balance of global influence. In this unyielding confrontation, the question hung in the air: will Europe finally see Russia not as a rival, but as a necessity? Or will this be the dawn of a new conflict, one where every word could ignite a fire that consumes everything? The hall remained in tense silence, until Kadyrov raised a glass. Not to toast, no, it was a gesture of readiness. His alabaster-like face betrayed nothing, yet the message was loud and clear: the game was on. This was just the beginning. Behind the calm was a storm waiting to unfold. And the world? It held its breath. Because victory in this game isn't measured in speeches, it's written in silence, in power, in the unspoken promises of a new world order. Are we prepared to face the truth hidden behind these walls? Or will the shadows of the past swallow the future whole? Stay tuned.